Ex-husband taunted the ex-wife at the reunion courtyard until a returning envoy restored her title. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's return to our main characters. Emily Turner, a woman whose past was filled with betrayal and heartache, found herself at the center of a reunion that she never imagined would be so intense. As she stood in the quiet courtyard of her childhood home, she could feel the weight of her past pressing down on her shoulders. The air was thick with tension, and every step she took seemed to echo in the stillness. Her ex-husband, Ryan Miller, was nearby, his eyes locked onto hers with a mix of disdain and something else, something that Emily couldn't quite place. The years of their marriage had been tumultuous, filled with moments of passion, but also endless arguments and distrust. Their divorce had been bitter, and now, standing face to face once again, it felt as though the wounds had never healed. Ryan, ever the master of subtle cruelty, couldn't resist taunting her. His words were sharp, laced with venom as he made sly remarks about her life since their separation. Emily tried to keep her composure, but each word stung like a dagger. It wasn't the first time he had humiliated her, but this time, something inside her snapped. She refused to let him see how much his words hurt her. She had fought too hard to reclaim her strength after their divorce. Yet, as the day dragged on, she couldn't help but feel the bitterness rising within her. Her status had been diminished in the eyes of those around her, and Ryan's behavior only magnified the humiliation. But just as Emily was about to retreat into the shadows, an unexpected presence entered the scene. Michael Collins, an envoy sent to deliver a message that would change everything for Emily. He had come to restore her rightful place, the position she had lost all those years ago. His arrival was a beacon of hope in the darkness, a symbol of the justice Emily had longed for. As he approached her, Emily could feel the weight of her future shifting, the promise of a new chapter unfolding before her eyes. She wasn't the broken woman she had once been. She was stronger now, and with Michael's help, she would finally regain what was hers. The courtyard felt even more oppressive as Emily stood there, her back straight, her eyes fixed on the ground. The moment Michael Collins arrived, everything shifted. He was a man of authority, his presence commanding yet calm. His voice, when he spoke, was steady, carrying the weight of something far beyond their petty differences. "Emily," he said, his tone gentle but firm. "Your time has come." The words echoed in her ears, and for the first time that day, she felt a spark of something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Hope that she might finally regain the dignity she had lost. Michael was here to restore her title, her rightful place in society, and perhaps, to right the wrongs that had haunted her for so long. Ryan, standing off to the side, watched the interaction with growing suspicion. He had always been a man who thrived on control, on making others feel small. But this was different. He could see the shift in Emily, the way she no longer shrank under his gaze, the way she held herself now, with quiet confidence. It unsettled him. "What's this?" Ryan sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "A knight in shining armor come to save the damsel in distress?" Emily met his eyes with a coolness that surprised even herself. "You don't know anything about what I've been through, Ryan," she replied, her voice steady but with an edge of defiance. She had never spoken to him like this before, but something about Michael's presence gave her the strength she needed. Michael turned to face Ryan, his expression unreadable. "This is not your concern," he said. "This is about Emily, her legacy, and her future." Ryan didn't know how to respond. For years, he had held the power over Emily, had made her feel like she was nothing. But now, with Michael here, that power was slipping away from him. Emily was taking control of her own story. She was no longer the broken woman he remembered. "I'm not here to fight with you, Ryan," Michael continued, his gaze still fixed on him. I'm here to ensure that justice is done. Emily deserves better than this." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, the courtyard seemed to hold its breath. Emily could feel the shift in the atmosphere, a subtle change, as if the universe itself was aligning in her favor. She stood tall, her chin lifted, and for the first time in years she felt a sense of peace wash over her. Ryan's sneer faded, replaced by a look of uncertainty. It was clear he hadn't expected any of this. Emily turned her attention back to Michael, feeling a sense of gratitude toward him that she couldn't fully express. He had given her the chance to stand up for herself, to reclaim what was rightfully hers. And in that moment, Emily knew that this was just the beginning. Her journey wasn't over, it had only just begun. As Emily stood there, feeling a sense of strength she had not known in years, the air around her seemed to shift. Ryan's attempts at belittling her had failed, and the once oppressive atmosphere had lightened. She felt a wave of calm wash over her. The years of pain, the humiliation, and the self-doubt were slowly fading, replaced by a newfound sense of self-worth. She was no longer the woman who had been crushed by Ryan's cruelty. With Michael's support, she was reclaiming herself, piece by piece. Ryan, still standing off to the side, clenched his jaw in frustration. He had never imagined Emily would stand her ground like this. He had always been in control, always the one who dictated the terms. Now, as he watched her, he realized that his hold over her had slipped. He was no longer the one in charge of the narrative. "You think this changes anything?" Ryan asked, his voice low and laced with resentment. Emily met his gaze steadily, her voice unwavering. "It changes everything, Ryan," she said. "You've always thought you could control me, but I'm done letting you do that." There was a weight in her words, a finality that made Ryan falter. For the first time, he saw the woman Emily had become, the woman who no longer feared him. Michael, sensing the shift in the dynamics, placed a reassuring hand on Emily's shoulder. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. "You've taken the first step, and now, we'll ensure that everything you deserve is given back to you." Emily nodded, feeling a sense of gratitude toward Michael. He had not only helped her regain her title, but had also given her something far more important, her confidence. With his help, she could now move forward with a sense of purpose and strength. As the two of them stood together, a new chapter was beginning for Emily. She wasn't just the woman who had been wronged, she was someone who was going to fight for what was rightfully hers. And Ryan? He could no longer control the story. The power had shifted, and Emily was determined to take back everything she had lost. She wasn't going to let him take anything more from her. As the courtyard filled with a quiet stillness, Emily felt a sense of peace settle over her. The past no longer had a hold on her. She was free. And with Michael by her side, she knew she could face whatever came next with courage and strength. The path ahead might be uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Emily was ready to walk it with her head held high. Emily walked away from the courtyard, the weight of the moment still settling in her mind. The cool breeze of the evening brushed against her skin, but it did little to cool the fire that was growing within her. For the first time in years, she felt the spark of hope igniting deep inside her. The injustice of the past had always been there, lurking in the background, but now, with Michael's presence and his promise of support, she was ready to fight for what was rightfully hers. As they made their way toward the car, Michael spoke softly, his words carrying a sense of purpose. "We're going to make sure everything is set right, Emily. You've waited long enough, and it's time to claim what belongs to you." Emily nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. She had lived so long in the shadow of her past, in the shadow of Ryan's manipulations, that she had almost forgotten what it felt like to have control over her own life. But now, everything was different. She wasn't the same person who had once let Ryan's cruel words define her. She was stronger now, and with Michael by her side, she knew she could face anything. As they drove through the quiet streets, Emily's thoughts drifted back to the years she had spent with Ryan. The highs and the lows, the love that once seemed so real, only to be replaced by bitterness and resentment. It was hard to believe that the man she had once trusted had become the source of so much pain. But now, as she looked back, she realized how far she had come. She had rebuilt herself, step by step, and now she was ready to take back her place in the world. The thought filled her with a sense of pride. Michael glanced over at her, sensing the change in her demeanor. "You're different," he said, his voice gentle but filled with admiration. "You're not the woman you were when I first met you. You've grown so much." Emily smiled, though it was a small smile, one that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I've had to," she replied softly. "But it's not just about growing. It's about taking back what's mine." They arrived at their destination, a sleek office building that stood as a symbol of the power that had once been Emily's. She had been stripped of her title, her position, her power. But not anymore. As they stepped inside, Emily felt a sense of purpose settle within her. She was going to fight, not just for her title, but for herself. For the woman she had become. And she wasn't going to let anyone, not even Ryan, take that from her again. Michael led her to a room where a group of professionals was waiting. The team was ready to help her navigate the process of regaining everything she had lost. "This is where it starts," Michael said. "We'll get through this together, Emily." As Emily sat down, she felt a sense of calm wash over her. She was no longer at the mercy of her past. She was in control now, and with each step she took, she could feel herself becoming the woman she was meant to be. The journey ahead was uncertain, but Emily was ready to face it, with strength and resilience that had been built over the years. It was time for her to reclaim her future, and no one, not even Ryan, could stop her. As the days passed, Emily began to feel the weight of her journey pressing in on her once more. The meetings with Michael's team were intensive, but every step forward felt like a small victory. The process of regaining her title was not an easy one, but she was no longer the woman who had feared the challenges ahead. With each new document signed, each new conversation had, she felt herself growing stronger. She was learning the systems, the procedures, and the legalities she needed to reclaim her rightful place. She was taking control of her own future. Yet, as the process continued, the shadow of Ryan still lingered. Though he hadn't made direct contact with her since their encounter in the courtyard, she could feel his presence. The whispers among their old social circles, the sideways glances when she walked into a room. It was clear that some people still saw her through the lens of their past marriage. It stung, but Emily was determined not to let it define her any longer. Her past with Ryan was just that, past. As she sat in a small, quiet office one afternoon, reviewing the documents for the final step in reclaiming her title, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Michael. "You're almost there. One more step." Her heart skipped a beat. One more step. That was all it would take. Emily stood up, pacing the room as she let the words sink in. She wasn't just about to reclaim a title. She was about to take back everything Ryan had stolen from her. The years of uncertainty, of second-guessing herself, those days were coming to an end. She could feel it. Michael had been by her side the entire time, guiding her through every obstacle, offering encouragement when she needed it most. There were moments when Emily wasn't sure if she could keep going, moments when the weight of the process seemed too much to bear. But Michael always knew the right thing to say, always reminded her of why she had started this journey in the first place. He wasn't just helping her with paperwork, he was helping her rebuild her life. As she prepared for the final meeting, Emily's thoughts briefly turned to Ryan. She wondered if he even realized what was happening. Did he know that she was no longer the woman he had once controlled? Did he understand that she was reclaiming her place, her power, her voice? Emily smiled softly to herself. It didn't matter. He could think whatever he wanted. She was moving forward, and nothing could stop her. When the day of the final meeting arrived, Emily was ready. She walked into the room with a sense of calm confidence, her shoulders squared and her head held high. She was no longer afraid of the past. It had shaped her, but it no longer defined her. As the final documents were signed, Emily felt the last of the weight she had carried for so long lift from her shoulders. She had done it. She had reclaimed her title, and in doing so, she had reclaimed herself. The journey had been long, but it had been worth it. She had faced her fears, confronted her past, and come out stronger on the other side. Emily sat in the quiet office, the silence around her almost deafening as she stared at the final document in front of her. The last few weeks had been a whirlwind of paperwork, meetings, and discussions, but today was the day she would finally see the fruits of her labor. She had come so far, and now it was all coming down to this one final step. As her hand hovered over the signature line, Emily took a deep breath. The weight of everything she had endured in the past few years seemed to press down on her chest. The hurt, the humiliation, the betrayal, all of it had led her to this moment. But none of it mattered anymore. She was no longer that woman. She was stronger now. She had fought for her place, and she was about to claim it. With a steady hand, Emily signed the document, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. It was done. The title was hers again, and with it came everything she had lost, the respect, the position, the power. But more than that, it symbolized something far greater, her reclaiming of her own identity. Emily looked up from the document, her eyes meeting Michael's across the room. He had been by her side every step of the way, guiding her, supporting her, reminding her of her strength. He had never doubted her, even when she had doubted herself. And now, as she looked at him, she felt a sense of gratitude so deep it was almost overwhelming. Michael had not just helped her navigate the complicated legalities of regaining her title. He had helped her reclaim her life. He had given her the courage to stand up for herself, to trust in her own abilities, and to never back down. Without him, she might never have made it this far. "You did it," Michael said softly, his voice filled with pride. Emily smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "We did it," she corrected him. "You've been with me through all of this. I couldn't have done it without you." Michael nodded, his expression warm and sincere. "You're stronger than you know, Emily." Emily felt a swell of emotion rise within her. She had always believed she was weak, that she couldn't stand on her own. But now, with the title restored and her confidence stronger than ever, she knew the truth. She was stronger than she had ever realized. And this was only the beginning. As Emily walked out of the office, the weight that had once defined her life seemed to lift. She felt lighter, freer. The future was wide open, and for the first time in years, she felt like she was truly in control of her own destiny. Her journey had been long, but she had finally reached the place she was meant to be. Emily was ready to face whatever came next, with the knowledge that no matter what happened, she would never again let anyone take away her power or her sense of self. The past was behind her, and the future was waiting. And for the first time in a long time, Emily felt truly free. Emily stood in front of the window, the sun setting over the city, casting a warm glow over the skyline. It felt surreal, like everything had changed overnight. The weight she had carried for so long had lifted, and in its place, there was a sense of peace, of accomplishment. She had fought hard to get here, and now, for the first time in years, she was living her life on her own terms. Michael had been with her through it all, and now, as she looked back, she realized how much his support had meant. He had been the one who reminded her of her strength when she had forgotten it. He had never let her give up, and because of him, she was standing in this moment of triumph. She had her title back, but more importantly, she had herself back. The past was no longer something that defined her. It was something she had overcome. The road ahead was still uncertain, but that didn't scare her anymore. For the first time, she felt like she had control over her future. She wasn't the same woman who had walked into that courtroom months ago, unsure of herself and afraid of what was to come. She was someone new, someone who had learned to trust herself and her abilities. As Emily took a deep breath, she felt a smile tug at the corners of her mouth. The future was wide open, and for the first time, she felt ready to face it. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a message from Michael. "We did it. You did it. I'm proud of you." Emily's heart swelled at the words. She couldn't remember the last time she had felt this proud of herself. She had come so far, and yet, she knew this was just the beginning. She wasn't going to let anyone take away what she had worked so hard to reclaim. Not Ryan, not anyone. She was ready to step into her future, and she was going to do it on her own terms. As she turned away from the window, Emily felt a sense of excitement bubble up inside her. She didn't know what the future held, but she was no longer afraid of it. Whatever came next, she knew she was strong enough to handle it. She had proven that to herself. She had fought for her place in the world, and now, she was going to live it. With a final glance at the sunset, Emily walked out of the room, ready to face whatever came next with a sense of purpose, confidence, and the knowledge that she was the one in control of her own destiny. Emily had always dreamed of this moment, but now that it had arrived, it felt like something out of a story she once read, one that was too perfect to be real. The weight of her journey was still fresh, but there was something else now: empowerment. She was no longer the person who waited for change to happen, she was the one making it. The city outside her window was bustling with life, the streets teeming with people unaware of the transformation that had just taken place inside her. Emily felt like an entirely different person, someone who had been reborn from the ashes of her past. She was walking forward, leaving behind the baggage of old relationships, old fears, and insecurities. The feeling was liberating. As she prepared for her next steps, Emily couldn't help but reflect on everything that had led her here. The courtroom battles, the late-night talks with Michael, the moments of doubt and uncertainty, it had all been worth it. She had faced down her past, confronted the demons that had held her captive for so long, and emerged victorious. She no longer had to hide in the shadows of her former life. The life she had once shared with Ryan felt like a distant memory now, one that had faded into the background of her mind. He no longer had control over her. She had taken that control back, piece by piece, until she was standing in the light, unburdened and free. As Emily sat at her desk, sorting through a few final details, she received another message from Michael. "Are you ready for the next chapter?" it read. She smiled softly, the question feeling more like an invitation to embrace the future. The road ahead was still uncertain, but Emily knew one thing for sure: she wasn't walking it alone. Michael had become more than just a support through the legalities of her situation. He had become her friend, her confidant, the person who believed in her when she could barely believe in herself. He had seen her at her lowest, and now he was there to help her step into her highest potential. Emily paused for a moment, her thoughts turning inward. What did the future hold? She had so many possibilities ahead of her: career opportunities, new relationships, a life full of potential. But most importantly, she was free to write her own story. The narrative of her life no longer belonged to anyone but her. As she hit reply to Michael's message, her fingers paused over the keyboard for a brief second. Then she typed, "I'm ready. Let's do this." With those words, Emily knew that nothing could stop her. She had found her power, her confidence, and her voice. The journey she had been on had shaped her, but it didn't define her anymore. She had rewritten her story, and now it was her turn to live it fully. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Emily took a deep breath, savoring the moment. Her future was wide open, and for the first time in a long time, she was exactly where she was meant to be. As Emily sat at her desk, reflecting on how far she had come, she realized how much she had learned about herself throughout this entire process. The woman staring back at her in the mirror was someone new, someone she had never fully known until now. The strength that had always been there, hidden deep inside, had been brought to the surface by her determination to reclaim her life. No longer was she the person who doubted her worth or allowed the opinions of others to dictate her future. She had taken control of her destiny, and now the possibilities were endless. As she thought about her journey, Emily felt a surge of pride. She had faced obstacles that seemed insurmountable at times, but she had pushed through, never giving up on herself. She had rebuilt her life from the ground up, and now, she was ready for the next chapter. The world was waiting for her to take the next step, and she felt ready to embrace it with open arms. Her phone buzzed once again, breaking her thoughts. It was another message from Michael. "You've come so far, Emily. It's time to shine." She smiled as she read the words. Michael had always been there for her, encouraging her every step of the way, and now, it felt like the moment had finally arrived for her to show the world who she truly was. She wasn't the woman who had been held back by fear and insecurity. She was a force to be reckoned with, and she was ready to take on whatever came next. Emily stood up, walking over to the window once more, looking out at the city that had been the backdrop to her transformation. She had spent so many years feeling trapped by her past, but now, it felt like everything was opening up before her. There were no limits to what she could achieve. The future was hers for the taking. As she closed her eyes for a moment, she felt a sense of peace settle over her. She had done the hard work. She had faced her fears, confronted the painful truths, and had come out stronger on the other side. And now, she was ready to live her life fully, without looking back. It was a feeling of freedom like she had never known before. Emily knew that her story wasn't over, not by a long shot. This was just the beginning. The road ahead would have its challenges, but she was no longer afraid. With the lessons she had learned, the strength she had gained, and the support of those who believed in her, Emily knew she could handle anything. The woman she had become was unstoppable. And with that realization, she turned away from the window, ready to face whatever came next, knowing that she had the power to shape her own future.